What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven here with your afternoon snap, and today I'm going to be showcasing the deck that I think is currently the best deck in Conquest mode. That's not to say you can't play it in the other game modes. In fact, all of the clips we're going to look at in just a moment come from Deadpool's Diner, but I think that the access to tech in this deck just makes it so well suited for Conquest mode, because basically the point of this deck is no matter what your opponent is playing, you will have some sort of answer for it, and then it's your job to capitalize on that with proper snaps and retreats. I think that just having a variety of answers makes it particularly well suited. I do also want to mention that the original version of this deck that I copied from Desmond, who won a community gaming tournament with it last week, actually plays a little bit more tech with both Mobius and Lady Deathstrike, which I've replaced with Killmonger and Klaw. I'll go into why I made some of those changes. I actually think Mobius might be correct though, and if you are looking for even more tech, here's another version you can play. Killmonger and Klaw I both have in the deck because they're great at finding surprising wins for a larger number of cubes, especially when there's locations that you cannot access. Like Kiln, for instance. This example is a little bit weird because my opponent has a war machine, so they are able to access Kiln. The main way that I've won a lot of extra cubes with Killmonger is with locations like Mojo World, where blowing up one of your opponent's cards can just spell doom for them. But obviously with Thanos rising in stock a lot recently, I have also found Killmonger good in a lot of other situations. It can be good against bounce. Like I said, I think that if you want to swap this for Mobius, especially with the prevalence of Mr. Negative decks now, then Mobius does make a lot of sense over Killmonger, and it's still going to help you against things like bounce and stuff like that. Here, I am just using it to blow up Ebony Maw on the final turn and surprise my opponent. You do have to pay attention to, you're always going to kill your Quicksilver with your Killmonger, but other than that, you don't have any other one-cost cards in the deck, and it's not like Quicksilver is super important. It is only in the deck so that way you can curve out and activate a Wiccan on turn 4. So here we can see we are going to be able to get the win with the combination of both the Klaw and the Killmonger, adding or removing points in either case from the Kiln so that we can just barely squeak out a victory. I think that Agent Coulson is probably the most questionable card in this deck because it's not tech, but it does allow you to fill out your curve in a really nice way, and this is obviously a really great high roll, getting 4 cards from Agent Coulson, and we're going to need something to spend this extra energy on with this Wiccan into Camartage. Wiccan plus cards that generate cards and are cheaper on the curve is classically a combo because they give you something to spend your energy on before Wiccan so that you can curve out, and after Wiccan so that you have something to actually spend the energy on. We get a nice little combo here with Jessica Jones plus Professor X, and I'm just going to wind up throwing both of those into Mount Vesuvius. That'll be really tough for my opponent to beat there, and then for the final turn, like, they are already basically out of Camartage, so we'll just be able to slam 2 cards into Camartage and take it pretty easily from here. As you can tell, I'm even going to throw in a Boomer Snap just because I'm feeling confident enough and my opponent isn't looking to want to retreat potentially. So we'll make them give us the full 160,000 cubes. And yeah, there we go. The deck may look a little inconsistent despite having the same first 2 turn plays every single game. It doesn't always draw the Wiccan, of course. You are pretty likely to be able to play a card on turn 3 with 5 different 3-cost cards, and then sometimes Iron Lad comes in for the assist and delivers you a Wiccan when you haven't drawn it quite yet. There's some other good Iron Lad hits in the deck though. Klaw is obviously a lot of power. We had it in our hand this time, but this game's fun. I'm able to keep on curving out with Wiccan plus Luke Cage last turn, And now on turn 6, I get to play Wiccan one more time and activate it, and then I wind up having 13 energy on the final turn of this game with 7 plus 3 different Wiccan activations. It's pretty good that I get all of the extra cards from Coulson here too, because my opponent winds up using Baron Zemo to get my Alioth, which means I've got nothing else left in my deck. And I'm just going to rely on these cards here from Coulson. My opponent this game with a Boomer Snap, but I'm going to be able to put a decent amount of power into Baxter Building with Klaw plus 2 more cards, or I could play the Klaw into Luke's Bar, and if I win Baxter Building, that will actually be enough that I can win in Luke's Bar as well. So this also winds up being a great example clip for Klaw, and shows how Klaw can just win locations that and win games for more cubes when your opponent isn't expecting it. Here's another Iron Lad high roll highlight where it hits an Alioth, and that's just gonna lock my opponent out of the game. Despite them being a junk deck, they're gonna retreat. This game presented an interesting scenario. Obviously, I need to play a 3-cost card so that way I can play Wiccan, but I also kind of want to play Wiccan into the Raft, and that Cosmo is then going to stop me from getting the Wiccan energy, but I'll get a free 6-cost card. And I think that this is worth going for. My opponent's snapping here, so that probably means that they are also going for the Raft. I might have enough power, though, with this Wiccan to beat them there, and actually, it's kind of fine if I don't, because Klaw will be played in K'un-Lun, and that will allow me to win the Raft regardless. My opponent plays an Orca, so they are beating me from the Raft. That's an Orca from Valentina. Pretty big card, kind of forgot about the Valentina giving them a 4-cost card. But now I can play Klaw, win the Raft, and potentially take priority to drop an Alioth in both locations for the final turn of the game. This seems pretty sweet, and I'm battling for all 3 locations right here. I could have played Alioth, that would have hedged my bets a little bit, and then allowed me to make sure I had priority to play an Alioth on the final turn of the game, but I was pretty sure this was going to give me priority, and now I can drop double Alioth with priority, which is pretty fantastic. Kind of necessary too, as we'll see that my opponent got a leader from the Raft that would have been big if we didn't remove its abilities. That is basically it. I am going to show off one more bonus clip here to wrap up the video. This doesn't really fit in with it. This is just a random game, but I don't think I could fit this game into a YouTube short. There's a lot of wackiness that happens here. We're going to start off battling for Castle Blackstone, throwing in a Chimichanga and our Cosmo, but I don't find Wiccan this game, but I do have the extra energy from Castle Blackstone to be able to continue to battle for Castle Blackstone by throwing Klaw down into the taco truck this turn. And the vault being on the right makes it a little bit more awkward. If the vault was like in one of the other 2 locations, then maybe I would have tried to sneakily win the vault with Klaw on the final turn, but just not going to be a possibility here. So we can see now that my opponent turns one of my cards into a pig and then returns some cards with Falcon. And we've got 6 energy for turn 5. Alioth would be a great draw, but we don't get it. We get Iron Lad, and I think now I'm just going to play some cards. They only have 2 cards in their deck though, so Cassandra Nova is not even that powerful. Honestly, the pig is just better than Cassandra, and maybe I can find something good off Coulson to play next turn. And ultimately, I decide I don't even want to play into the vault. I'm just going to play into these other 2 locations. The pig is safe from Shadow King behind Cosmo, so I kind of like it in Castle Blackstone, and I also kind of like keeping my lead in Castle Blackstone, so I will be able to play 7 power worth of cards on the final turn. And I do draw Alioth here, but 7 power really isn't that fantastic. Like, if I play Alioth at one location, they can just play some cards to Castle Blackstone, and then because I'm losing the vault, then it's awkward that they just did not commit anything to the vault. And I was feeling really bad about my chances for this game, for this play specifically, when I decided to just double check how many cards are in my opponent's deck. It was 2 last turn, so it should be 1. this turn now, right? No, except it's 11 because my opponent played Loki. This totally threw me off, and I was like double checking their deck because of the Loki, and their deck seemed kind of random, but the Loki restocked their deck, so now I can play Cassandra plus Crossbones, adding 10 power. 11 power to the taco truck, 10 power over into Blackstone, protected by Cosmo. So this one was just a silly one with Loki kind of refilling a Cassandra mostly in here to deal with Arishem, just another tech card that can randomly win you 8 cubes. But for today, that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.